Well, thanks for spending a little bit of time with me today. My topic is innovation in Champaign County. A lot of us think about innovation in terms of the University of Illinois and what's going on in the research labs here, but what you may not know as much about is innovation in the context of the entrepreneurial enterprises all around our county. And that's what we're going to spend just a few minutes talking about today. I see entrepreneurship and innovation really as twins. Ultimately, they are an engine for growth and societal change. They're really probably the most significant force behind job creation over the last decade. In fact, if you look at statistics, most of the jobs created by far have come from small entrepreneurial enterprises. What other people see as problems, sometimes unsolvable problems, entrepreneurs and innovators see as opportunities. And that's really at work here in Champaign-Urbana. Back in 2000, so over a decade ago, the university adopted economic development as an additional part of its mission and vision. So in addition to research, teaching, and public engagement, the university added this fourth platform, if you will. In 2001, then they took the step of actually creating the position of Vice President of Technology and Economic Development. And this person's charter was then to fulfill this piece of the mission of the university. So now if we fast forward 10 years from 2000, 2001 to 2010, 2011, here are some of the very cool things that have happened. 14 new companies opened up shop in the research park at the University of Illinois. 2 acquisitions were announced, Sony EyeSight and Raytheon Trusted Computing, and 11 EnterpriseWorks companies reported receiving venture funding or angel funding. And that's a very significant event when you think of Champaign being a small, non-coastal community. The fact that we were able to get 11 of our EnterpriseWorks startups some amount of venture or angel funding is a significant milestone. Other things that happened, 22 EnterpriseWorks companies reported receiving SBIR funding or awards. These are awards from various government agencies. So basically 2/3 of the tenants in EnterpriseWorks receive some form of significant government funding. And then as of December 2010, you'll see that the occupancy of the research park is at an all-time high. Almost 100 total tenants in the park, of which 38 companies are in the incubator and nearly 50 private companies are in other facilities throughout the research park. Some of the other things happening in Urbana-Champaign, the UCAN, or the Urbana-Champaign Angel Network, launched in 2010. UCAN brings together angel investors and startup companies, connects them to be ultimately providing capital to these enterprises. The first meeting of the UCAN was held in May 2010. A subsequent meeting was held in September, and then just very recently in March of 2011, a third, what we call presenting companies meeting was held. And this is where 5 or 6 startup companies make about a 10 or 12-minute pitch to the audience of angel investors, ultimately with the idea of securing some of the angel investors both funding and ultimately personal involvement in their enterprise. So this is a new piece of the puzzle of what I would call the entrepreneurial ecosystem, if you will. Our angel network is one of over 400 now angel networks throughout the United States that are part of the Angel Capital Association. On May 19th of 2011, we have a workshop, an all-day workshop being hosted by UCAN called The Power of Angel Investing. So these are, again, just some of the pieces of the puzzle of the infrastructure behind some of the cool things happening in entrepreneurship. Now here's my shameless commercial. A new venture firm launched in 2010, Serra Capital. This is a firm that I work with, along with my partner Dennis Beard, and together we noodled on this problem a little bit and said, you know, you can't have too much capital for startup enterprises, particularly here in the Midwest. If you go to the East or West Coast, there seem to be sort of an abundance of capital providers, but not so much here in the Midwest. And so Serra Capital was put together as a new fund focusing primarily on what we call seed stage or very, very early stage technology companies here in Illinois. We look at companies that are in information technology, medical devices, ag tech, clean tech, so we aren't terribly too particular about what type of tech, and the idea is to take our capital, aggregate it with capital from other sources like angels. And angels is really just a fancy word for a high net worth individual. And also money from other venture funds, from grants. And together, the idea is being able to launch a company with a sufficient amount of capital. So let's take a comparison look between 2000 and 2011. If you look at the diagram here, in 2000, we had 2 buildings in the research park. There were no venture capital firms serving startups. There was an incubator located in a metal pole building on South Rice Street. It was called officially the Technology Commercialization Lab. I know that's a very fancy sounding word. We called it the metal pole building. And the UIUC Tech Transfer Office was understaffed and backlogged. I think there were about 700 disclosures of various technologies invented at the university sitting and waiting to be sifted through in the Tech Transfer Office at that time. So a considerable backlog, big problem. Again, if you fast forward to 2011, there are now 12 buildings in the research park, over 600,000 square feet of space. As a previous slide indicated, almost 100 research park tenants and nearly 1,400 employees housed here. 2 venture capital firms, Serra Capital and Illinois Ventures, specifically focused on serving the early stage companies. An entrepreneur in residence program where we assist startups on a pro bono basis, giving them a couple of hours of free advice per month that they can ultimately then leverage into more significant help if they need it. We have a new program, the EPAP, which is doling out about $50,000 in grant assistance to some startup companies. And of course, we have the iHotel and Conference Center as a terrific venue for meetings, symposia, and the like. You can see a pretty dramatic contrast in terms of how this entrepreneurial infrastructure ecosystem has developed really in a fairly short period of time. Now, that's all good stuff, but the really, really exciting thing is the actual companies that are here in Urbana-Champaign